Thanks for staying with us. So, experts have blamed social media for mass failure in WAEC and others. According to experts, they said that the mass failure of students in the WAEC and other national examinations has been attributed to social media, which encourages wrong spelling during exams by the students. This was said by the National Coordinator, Achievers Spelling Bee, Noel Dauda. Disclosed this at the grand finale of the 2024 third edition of the Spelling Bee in Niger State. Specifically, he explained that his organization has discovered that students have been failing WAEC and other important examinations because of wrong spelling. Says the majority of Nigerians attached themselves to social media where words are comfortably abbreviated and apply the same in examinations. Many of us who are employers of labor have also experienced this, where you ask somebody to write a letter and they're abbreviating certain important words. Please, PLS instead of the full word. You know, we've seen this all the time, but what are your thoughts on this? Because it's a new world. Some will say this is bad for the future. Others will say it's the reality of the future, that we can't continue to judge new knowledge with old techniques, that it's not important for you to have things done how it used to be, because as long as you're communicating and the receiver understands what you've communicated, the job is done. What are your thoughts on this? You can call us on 081 0764 1679 09024 63440. You can also tweet to us at TVC Entertainment. Please follow our hashtag and hashtag YourViewTVC so we can read your tweet. Let me come to you, ladies. What are your thoughts on this? So, I mean, when we hear stories like this, remember how we grew up and how certain things were so important. But if we juxtapose that with reality of today, you know, how things are different these days. Your CV is not just about what you present, it's about what's on social media. Your employers will even go to social media to check. So should we then continue to have these examinations judge students based on their ability to speak a certain way or write a certain way? Or should we just stick to what we already know? What are your thoughts? Let me come to you.
I fear that we'll soon grow into that space. Like you said, we're evolving. Yeah. I remember back then when we used to write our letters, it has to be your address on one side, the formal address on one side. And then I got to law school and we had like 4 different methods taught at a legal ethics class. And we had, till date, I write my letters addressed on one line. Yeah. Straight, I don't have time to be going up and down. You know? So things change. Yeah. But what I cannot understand is that, you know, we cannot lose formality when it comes to addressing certain things. So the way we write and all of that in our ease and amongst our friends, there are different methods. And you see young ones just abbreviate so much. Those days we used to abbreviate in our notes and we know what we abbreviate. It is you that know what you're writing. But when you're writing to others, you write the proper English. Most people don't even know anymore. My husband warns me all the time. He said, this your Jennifer English that you like playing. Because I will be talking and I'll then switch and switch. Say, you're affecting my kids. They will not understand the difference. You know how to do all of that. But these kids might think that's formal. And you need to maintain a standard at home. And I see it now happen everywhere. People, young ones will write to me. I made someone take dictations. And I read what I was given. I was like, did you just write this to me in a law office? Are you being serious? That there's a training for this. You know, I could say write and send. I don't have to read. Right. And then this is what I will give to a client. I won't take B now that I signed it. Or you know, so I've just done it again. But you know, they don't know the switch. They don't know how to get serious back and all of that.
Come to you, Mary. What are your thoughts on this?
So, you know, this reminds me of an incident that happened when I was in SS1, biology test. And we were supposed to write something anyway. I remember I kept writing aren't, something aren't. She did not even, the teacher did not even waste time. One long cross, across like that. Bad. It was as if I didn't get the answers right. Like, what are you writing formal language for? And I don't even know why I did it, you know, but for you to understand how traumatic it was, I remember it right. I can remember it was blank pen I used to write that thing. So I've always known, you know, that there's formal situations where you're expected to write it, you know, right. You know what it means. When you're taking the notes, even the teachers will encourage you and show you abbreviations so that you're able to pick write notes, but when you're writing exams or you're writing in a formal situation, you write it out. It used to bother me so much that my younger ones, those who are much younger, when they send you text messages, like for me, it's so serious that when I'm sending text messages, I'll write it out. I've gotten people who have received my text messages and I'm like, it's so well written. I'm like, I did not know that there's a difference, but you know, I take pride in it. I feel there's nothing, it doesn't take away anything. Instead, it adds to, you know, who you are. It shows that you think about what you're about to do, you show some form of discipline. But when you just write anything, it shows that you're not, you know, for me, it shows almost a lack of discipline. And I've seen people who, because they have done it so many times, they don't know when to stop. They find themselves in a big problem because they are typing in shorthand or misspelling. So the shorthand has now become misspelling for some people because the people, the next generation, have learnt just the short spelling. You know, they have not learnt it how it is meant to be. And then there's now this conversation of, what does it really matter? It does not matter now. After all, we're all in the same class. You're not even more brilliant than I am. You know, you're right about that because there's some courses like in math or, you know, there's some courses I do not really expect that you should write out everything. And so people would say, well, I'm better at this. It does not make me any less intelligent because I'm spelling it out this way. But going forward, I think we should be able to just put out the difference between what's formal and then what we can get away with amongst friends.
Let me come to you, Bisi, because in this new era of the emphasis on skills, you know, nobody's talking about, it's not about too much English, it's about the ability. So we praise the Chinese coming to our country, building houses, doing stuff. It's not about what you're able to write or you're not able to write. So we are trying to get people to leave the formalities and focus on our needs in this new world. So it's like we are putting one leg in, one leg out. What exactly do we want? Do you think we should begin to accommodate the way people are, this new generation, how they've chosen to communicate and not be so forceful in ensuring that they do it exactly how we were raised growing up?
Okay, so a few months ago, my daughter was chatting me on the phone and she was using a lot of abbreviations. I was not having it. Is it me you're talking to like that? Why are you not spelling correctly? It's about when we were chatting. I said, no, you don't do that. You need to be seen as someone who is disciplined, someone who knows what they are doing. So if you're writing in English, write correctly. If you're writing in Pidgin, even in the Pidgin, write it correctly. Even in Igbo language, write it correctly. There's what they call the basics and standards, and that is more like a foundation. It gives you that foundation. When you now get to a certain age where you, like you explained, where you can balance it and flip in between both, now we understand that you have the ability to do this right, but you can also choose to do this the other way, and that's okay. But the problem for me now is that we are not enforcing the standards anymore for our young people, and that's why a lot of them are misspelling. A lot of them cannot even write application letter. Those of us who are employing people now, you tell them to write something for you, you can't even read what they have written. We are missing the standard. We're not saying don't do the other way, because we understand now that things are becoming, information is everywhere, things are shorter and people want to do it faster. But you can, I think we should begin to see life as this and that. You can be this and be that. And as young children are growing, we, the parents and the teachers, have a responsibility to hold them to that high standard. When they are of age, they can now choose to. I can write in Igbo, I can write in Pidgin, I can do abbreviations, though I don't like it. If you're sending me text messages and you write it to me, there's a certain way I look at you, I will not take you serious, because I'll see you like someone who's not ready to go the extra mile. It's about patience and perseverance. And we are rushing these young people. We are not allowing them be grounded, because that's what stands you up. So if, for instance, you want to be a mechanic, no, listen. Even if you want to be a mechanic, right? There are places you would enter where you have to pitch for people to invest, maybe big investors and all of that. You have to package yourself a certain way. So you tell the children that this is the packaging we're helping you get now. So that wherever you find yourself, even if it's a career you are selling, you'll be able to package yourself in a way that you will be respected and you will bring respect to that particular career. So nobody's saying don't do the other type of work, informal work that you're doing. But there's a way you come into that informal sector, having a formal background that just gives you an edge. So I think that's the way we can catch these young people.
So my question is, who is creating the standard? Because we always said it also on this table, that Western education versus our own education, how do we rechange and rework and even remodel what's been taught to us? We're talking to a new generation that they are making their own rules. They're setting their own standards. So what you call standard for them is not necessary, because what they're saying is that it's not about how I communicate to you in writing, it's about what I'm able to do. It's about my skills.
Okay.
So I'm going to say that as we are moving forward, saying, okay, guys, I can bring in a geek who can fix my computer, who can do everything properly. He doesn't know how to write a letter. So for him, I'm able to solve your problem. It's not about writing letters or spelling right.
Then the geek will go with his knowledge because he can't document it. Proper language.
Yeah.
You know, this standards...
Communicating to his colleagues, though, who understand his language.
Who will document for him?
Do it like this, do it like that, that's the next thing, but put it in a book. Write a textbook on it, he can't. And that's where, we cannot belittle knowledge. We can't, we cannot. But the standards are not ours to set. It's somebody's language we are copying. There's a standard to every single language. I remember when learning Yoruba back in school, the Alawiye text, there's a way their letters are written. In proper, it's not the Yoruba that we watch in the movies. It's proper, I would say very, very standard Yoruba. You spell correctly. When you're doing your translation, before you interpret. So there's no language that is common. That is anyhow. Every language. Recently, I'm teaching my kids numbers in my language. And so I kept doing it, and they sorted out YouTube. They found out that the Esako language have about 9 different types. So somebody was counting and saying, Ela, Ela. And I said, it's Aya, because I'm EBA. And I said, okay, there's EBA standard. I'm teaching you. Use this one. This is ours. Because every language, the Queen's English is Queen's own now. It's and so we had to meet up her standards when we were writing our own exam. And the WAEC is an exam body maintaining the Queen's English standard.
So the young people now create their own standard. Wow.
Which exam body they want to take right to the WAEC? Now they discuss but discussing their low performances, especially in the English language.
So Mara, should WAEC then review how they are grading these?
How they are grading. Okay, so before I answer that, let me just make some clarifications. I do not like it when every time we compare our own local language or education with Western education, make it seem that ours doesn't. We don't have a standard. That we don't speak proper grammar. Hausa people speak proper Hausa. There's a difference. My grandma sometimes used to make fun of us. She'd be like, "What kind of Hausa are you speaking? Please don't take it outside. I'm going to speak." The books I had as a child, Magana Ajariche, it was well-written, proper Hausa, and I hear, I've met some Yoruba people, even from the way they speak it, I know that this person is speaking it in a way that this is an educated Yoruba person, So we have standards on both sides. Pidgin, remember, is an abused
English
version of English. So that shows that it was spoken by people who were trying to understand the language. It wasn't that this is how we speak even our local language. So let's put that aside. Even us, we have our standards. So we would like to see that standard in everything that we do. Concerning WAEC, so the truth is about the world is that many words keep changing. There are some words that we use right now that when you check it against like maybe old dictionaries, or if you go to check like the beginning of it, they'll tell you this was not how it was used, or this was not how it was spelt. So life will happen. Some things will become regular English. There are some words that are Nigerian that are now found in dictionaries, but it takes time. So you will find yourself, depending on the generation you are, you might find yourself at the cusp of when it's changing and the exam bodies have accepted it. But if you find yourself in a generation where they are still telling you cannot, it's not accepted, then you better, be aware of your times. There used to be a time when we went to school that if you speak your local language, you call it vernacular, and then you'd have to pay a fine. Now we're encouraging everywhere. We're sitting down at tables and discussing how we should encourage our children to speak. So the times that we're in now, there are some things that you cannot get away with. I'm also worried about spelling and not spelling correctly, because there are some jobs that you do that requires you to spell well. If you spell wrongly, you may kill somebody.
Yes, so.
So in that spelling, please do it right. It shows that you are paying attention to what you're doing. That's it.
Let me go on a very short break. When we come back, we continue with this and wrap this up. Stay with us. We'll be right back.